Hi everyone, no news today, so let's get straight into the data. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So fear and greed jumped up to a 65 here today, which is pretty interesting considering that markets were actually down a little bit. A week ago we were at 46, a month ago we were at 33. You can see it here on the charts. We are pretty much back into the same range that we were here previously. Greed on momentum, still fear on strength, and now greed on breadth as well. So markets are getting pretty extended again here to the upside. Put call ratio, extreme greed. Market volatility falling all the way to an 11.99. We'll take a look at that on the charts as well. Safe haven demand continues to trend higher here into extreme greed. I think this is due to the fact that markets are anticipating that first cut and people are starting to move into bonds. A little bit of anticipation there, and then you can see junk bond demand still hovering at current levels. Moving over to seasonality, this is a bearish period. We've been waiting for that bearishness. Markets were down just a little bit yesterday and down a little bit more here today. Are we actually going to see a substantial pullback with any kind of real depth? I think that remains to be seen. So far, markets are holding up pretty well. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see CPI for the Eurozone coming in at expectation. They seem to be pretty consistently correct with their expectations. Year over year CPI 2.4, so they're doing a little bit better on inflation. And then there was nothing really else here for the economic calendar. Moving over to Max Pain, you can see we finished just short of that 430 level. Max Pain did move a little bit higher to 515, but we finished basically at the top of the puts. You can see some more puts entering the market there. Total options 4.3 million, put call ratio still very high at 4.26. So very bullish finish and something to pay attention to as we go into next week. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, you can see it was sideways choppy price action throughout the day. 1 o'clock candle touched that 55 EMA and then bounced, and then we finished just slightly bullish on the day here for the S&Ps. 0.14 to the upside, but you can see momentum continues to roll to the downside. Still holding that trend, you can see a touch there, but on the hourly chart we are below that trend, so mixed signals there. I still think this is going to roll to the downside, and I think that would be healthy for markets. Get a little bit of a pullback. We're just extended. Find some support in there, and then we could go higher if we're going to do it. Otherwise, a deeper pullback I think is potentially possible. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see we are still above that upper ATR. That's at 528.23. Typically there are pullbacks. Momentum hasn't shown anything like that on the daily chart yet. And then looking at that hourly chart, you can see we are still in bearish conditions. ATR resistance is up at 530.75, so about $1.25 higher. Bearish conditions on the short time frames, still bullish on the longer ones. Moving over to the NASDAQ, quite a bit more bearish on the day. You can see we tested the 21 EMA early in the session and then sold off. And you can see it here on the daily chart, down 0.05, momentum stepping to bearish. Definitely not what you would want to see. Seems to be selling off a little bit more after hours. 55 EMA on the hourly is current support for 50.67. If that breaks down, then we're probably headed lower. If it holds up, then we're probably headed higher. So that's the pivot point I'm looking at right now. You also have some trend support in there. And then current level for me, 451.62. Then moving over to the Russell and the Dow, this is the hourly chart for the Russell. You can see straight sideways price action, really didn't do much of anything at all. And looking at it on the daily chart, you can see it was technically positive, up 0.07, but it did not close above the level, so you would expect this to sell a little bit more. Support 206.50, and then you have the 9 EMA sitting down there, 206.22, momentum rolling down. So I do think this is going to pull back at least a little bit. Doesn't mean that this uptrend can't continue, but I'd be looking for a test of that 9 EMA. And then the Dow actually showing some strength here today. Fully engulfed the previous candle, 0.19 to the upside, and it did close on the high, which is quite bullish. Momentum still not showing it, and it is still overbought on the daily chart, but that candle was stronger than the other major indices in my opinion. Moving over to stocks that moved today, we have Valero Energy up 4.77%, massive leg higher here. Momentum rolling to bullish, everything looks super good here. Put a level at 167.45, that would be my near-term price target, but really you have this trend line up here around 172, probably going to hit that pretty soon. And then you have Starbucks. This is a dumpster fire of a chart here. They fell off a cliff on their most recent earnings, but you can see we touched a level, 71.97. That is the same lows back here from May of 22. So we found some support in that zone, rallied up. You have a higher low setup, and then it was up 3.41% today. This might head to that 21 EMA 97.96. So that would be a couple of dollars higher from here. But overall, still very much a downtrend. If you want to catch a short-term trade, seems like an opportunity, but I wouldn't be looking for anything longer than that. And realistically, you might want to wait for a short, in my opinion. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, you can see Apple still hanging out right at that resistance. We've tested retested the trend 3 times now, 3 days in a row. Momentum's fading, RSI overbought, so we'll see what happens from here. Definitely at some clear overhead resistance. And then you can see Tesla. So Tesla is an interesting story. It seems to be doing exactly what we thought. So we were expecting the pullback, 21 EMA VWAP zone, held that level, got a bounce, did pull back, held support once again, and now we got an up candle, 1.5%. 177.70 was the resistance. If it can get above it and hold, we're probably pushing back to that 188 zone, which does seem like an opportunity. Momentum bullish, RSI also bullish. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples pulled back a little bit, inside candle, that's not great. It is overbought, momentum still technically bullish, but it's been choppy over the last couple of days. And then discretionary is still in the same consolidation, hasn't done anything. So no clear direction on staples versus discretionaries. Moving over to oil and gas and industrials, you can see oil and gas doing what we thought. We're expecting this to break to the upside and push to that 161.59 area. Seems like it's going to do that. This seems like a good opportunity here. And then industrials, breakdown, retest of trend, seems to be looking for a bit of a breakdown. 21 EMA would be your support, 123.51. And it seems like both of those ideas are still intact. Moving over to breadth, you can see 20-day breadth has not moved. 5 days in a row of straight sideways action. Really 6 if you count that first one. Now here on the 50-day, bouncing again from that 62.25. Momentum continues to roll the bearish on both of these really, but looking at the 50-day, we got a bullish candle, momentum rolling over. So waiting to see the follow through on that indicator. But right now, price action is hanging in there, so no clear direction on this either. Moving over to the dollar, you can see the dollar bounced pretty strong yesterday, and we did get a continuation of that up until market open, and then it dumped right back to that key support, 104.41. So it held the support though. So that's interesting. We got the push up, retest, continuation higher, second retest here, and then if it pushes higher again, we should be in good shape. But if the dollar does go higher, that's going to be bearish for equities, so we'll see how this plays out. Right now, it does look a little bit more bullish on the dollar, but you do have some clear overhead resistance on the daily chart, so see how it plays out. Right now, short-term bullish, medium-term bearish. Moving over to yields. Yields have actually made a pretty decent comeback. So 2-year, right back into the same range that we were in the first week of May here. So back above the level, 4.8, momentum rolling to bullish, RSI, so it's right at the SMA. If it's going to break down, it's probably going to do it during the next session, but right now it does look a little bit bullish. 21 EMA still sitting up there at 4.89. Not sure why it's quite making that rally right now. Honestly, I expect this to go lower still in my opinion. And then looking at the 10-year, big candle here similarly to the 2-year. Not back into that same range, but still a decent candle stack on top of the last one. 9 EMA sitting there at 4.44. Moving over to bonds, J&K, basically sideways choppy action here, 0.01 to the downside, hanging in there still. And then looking at TLT, big breakdown on that move higher on yields. I still like bonds. I think bonds are going to be a decent opportunity here. I think you need to be patient on these 2 big bear candles. Maybe the 9 EMA holds there at 90.93. Or some trend support down around 90.60, or potentially even VWAP in the 21 EMA zone down around 89.68. But either way, I think one of these zones is going to hold, and I think we will push up to a higher high. Moving over to volatility, you can see volatility continues to crater on both of these. Move index going back towards the low here from the beginning of April, and then the VIX cratering here, breaking below that previous consolidation. Now we're headed back to the lows here from mid-December, and that level is 11.77. I think that's probably where we're going to find some support. You can see super low on RSI. That's typically about as low as you go. You can see on that previous dip low, RSI got down to a 32.63. And then current levels, we're at a 35.25. So maybe one more down candle, hit that level, and then we'll see what happens. Again, VIX can hold in that zone for a couple of days, just like we did here. 3 days in a row here, 4 or 5 days here. So it just depends. You could absolutely get there, chop sideways a couple of days, and then eventually roll higher. But I do think it will roll higher at some point, but it might take a little while. Moving over to my accounts, I did jump back in a little bit. Still very cautious on the delta. As you can see, I did sell a 207 put for the Monday session for 54 cents. Made a little bit of money there. I jumped in a little bit early, so you can see I only ended up making $5 on the day, but still slightly positive. And then you can see same thing here on the Qs. It was down on the day, sold a put, rolled it out to the Monday for $4.50 for 90 cents credit, made some money on that. And then I have a call here still for $4.52 for 85 cents. So that's right at the money. So being patient, and you can see it's actually down a little bit after hours. So see how it plays, still being very cautious. Slightly bullish on my deltas. You can see it here, 17.6 on the bullish deltas on the Qs. And I think we're probably going to be okay until that 55 breaks on the hourly chart. If that breaks, we're headed lower in my opinion. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the charts. Are we going to resolve this consolidation to the upside, or are we in a selling period and we're going to see some kind of pullback? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.